primary goal, one secondary goal. They should leave the program as it is. They are only to have one program. I've been getting a lot of students lately that have like 5 different programs marked. No, we don't do that. It's either ABE or ESL, or if they score high enough on a test, I will take care of that later. But they should not mark anything that's already pre-filled in the program. If they have no social security number, and you know they have no social security number, please mark the does not have box. If they have it but don't have it with them, leave that blank and ask them to bring it. Again, we talked about this the last time. I totally understand that that's a very touchy subject for students that may not be from this country. Please assure them that they are still eligible for services, and we don't report anything to anyone about specific names in our program. That's not what it's for. It's just for statistics. On post-testing, reminder that if a student is 246 or above on both modalities, they don't need a post-test. Or if they've already made a gain in one modality in this year, they don't have to post-test again. If they've increased a level, but there's really no need for another post-test. So as we're trying so hard to get post-tests, there are some people that don't have to do that. Another thing, the reports that Marshall sent out, when he sends out reports, make sure you look at the date the report is run, because I'm getting a lot of questions on hours, and that these hours are not right, and that type of thing. A couple things to keep in mind, like those last reports were run 4 days before we imported time for February. So there's reason for the hours being off. You want to look at, if you're comparing time clock hours to the hours on that report, you'll want to look at the hours that were prior to the date of the report. Also, another thing to keep in mind is rounding. If a student's been in 10 times and every time he's got part of an hour, that's going to be different between the time clock and what's imported into TE or CASAS. That they only import by a quarter of an hour. So it could be off, 3 or 4 hours or something over a month if they've been in a lot. Just remember that if it's in the general ballpark, it's probably okay. If there's a significant difference, when you're taking the date into consideration, don't hesitate to let me know and I'll investigate it. We know we have had some problems in the past on that import from time clock to TE or process. So I'd be glad to investigate any that you think is a problem. But if it's a small number, it's probably in rounding. I think that's all I have right now.
All right, so again, to reiterate, look at the date on the report. All right. Now we go on to HiSET updates. Amy wants to talk about the verification form and the test battery, and then we'll have Sid add anything else in.
The state recently approved the Form C of the official practice test, and we are in the middle of updating those forms to say free practice test number 6. Yes, the state is using a free practice test option that the students have the access to. So Marcel said, please use this option C as a test of last resort. And also Mike's opinion on that was, if, you know, we're at having to give them a third to test, there's probably issues anyway. So he just was comfortable making that as an option C. So watch for those updated forms to come to you here in the next couple of weeks. And then also a reminder, about 6 months ago, ETS changed the way they charge out for their testing services. So students can no longer purchase a battery. They purchase self-test individually for $10 a piece. However, if they need to purchase a voucher through the bookstore, then it is still the $51.50. That's the only possible way to purchase a battery. And that's all I have.
All right, and Marcel chimed in, he's listening in, because they have a break until 1:30, and said, yes, use OPTC last.
With that being said, if you have any in your classrooms that you're using for practice tests, pull them out. So anyone here, if you have any lingering in your areas, if you could get them to me so that we don't have them just laying around. And then outlying areas, if you could do the same, please just make sure that all those FPTs that we were using for instructional purposes get locked up somewhere.
And Marcel says it is listed as 2017 Form C on the forms in KIN. Students will not see it as FPT6. So,
But it will say FPT6 on the verification form.
okay.
Just not to confuse anybody, but not on KIN.
Yep. All right, any other HiSET updates, ladies?
Any questions?
All right. Next item on the agenda is graduation. Friday, May 12th, 7:00 p.m. Hotel at Kirkwood Center. Sid and Pat can chime in.
Sid has some things to mention or ask or request, but the invitation to attend graduation and the steps to accomplish that, that graduation flyer will be mailed out at the end of next week, probably, after Amy inputs the graduates from March. Slap some labels on those and send out those mailers. So I'm guessing maybe next week, Thursday or Friday. I probably will put a few of those envelopes in campus mail to each center in case you have any late completers. So you can just hand them one if they qualify to walk the stage. And then I imagine we'll also be sending out, as we get graduates from April, I'll send another one out also to them. So that was fun.
Yes,
Thank
so,
you.
thanks, Pat. I'm looking for a couple more marshals, another check-in, another 1 or 2 greeters. If you're gonna be at graduation and could help sign up for any of those positions, send me an email, please. If you have anyone that you're interested in having speak at graduation, I'm having I haven't heard from anybody in the outlying areas, so I just need to know how many I need to get here if no one has any from the other areas, but if you do, I need to know preferably sooner than later if you could.
So check-in, greeters, and marshals.
Yep.
And if you can help out with any of that, would you please email Sid? Also, you need to make sure that you let Sid know if you have any potential speakers for graduation. They're pretty awesome stories usually. One of my favorite parts of graduation.
And we should be able to hear them this year. That's the great part.
So next we have Kale and Christine, I don't know if Iowa City's completely back on track with their audio problems. So Kale might have to take the whole thing if Christine can't unmute herself and join in. So it's an update on the Iowa City Pathways to Success implementation.
It's going well so far. Last numbers we checked was about the third rule like we have here. So in that aspect, it's about the same. A lot smaller classes, so having it's turning into almost more like a two-hour course instead of 2-3-hour course. So adjusting that way, and we are starting to work with and increasing communication with ESL in regards to starting a new intake process. And so ESL students aren't coming through high school completion and getting information that's not necessary or pertinent to them and their immediate goals. So just working on that stuff, and yeah, good stuff.
Our persistence rate is still doing pretty well, so keep it up. Next, we have ESL Career Workshop, and Colleen is going to talk about that. I think she was logging into her own computer for this. Yep. Colleen, do you need the screen?
Hi, Brandy. It's Christine.
Hi, Christine.
Sorry, I didn't know if you wanted my 2 cents on Pathways.
Sure, we can do your 2 cents on Pathways too.
Yes. It's really going very well. I think it's just helping students take a whole different attitude and a more serious approach as they're coming in. Instead of like their 4th or the 5th time coming in, then they're finally deciding how serious they are about it. Now they're getting it right from the very beginning. And so we're seeing less people in pending and all that paperwork we used to hold on to until, a couple months into it, and then we realized they're probably not coming back, versus people who are back for, out of the information session to the Pathways, then they keep moving. So it's really going well.
Good to hear it. I think we found a similar thing here where, Marcel always called them perennial students, where they
Right.
pop up at the same time every year. We see
Yes.
lots of those now. So
Yeah,
I'm
it's
glad
a-
it's going well in Iowa City too.
It's a better approach even for our people out of the archives. So, especially 2 or 3, 4 or 5 times that they've done the same thing, this is a new way for them to, really ask themselves how serious they are about it.
Yes. Do you have anything else to add?
Nope.
Okay. Is Colleen ready to go for her part?
She's down there on the list. You want to mute us again.
Okay.
I can't hear you, Colleen.
Is she there?
She is. She says, I'm ready, can't hear my audio. Let me walk over to the classroom. Give me 1 minute.
So during that minute, I have a quick, something Mark wanted me to bring up. The change agent, if anyone is interested in that, I know Colleen has put in a request for her to have some. If anybody in any of the outlying areas or anything are interested in getting this, please let Pat know as soon as you can,
By Wednesday, if possible.
by Wednesday.
All right, Colleen, are you ready now?
If not, it's
Sort of. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now. And Marcel says, thanks everyone. I know it's a busy week. Okay, Colleen, go ahead.
Thanks. I'm glad you have a nice graphic because our document cam doesn't seem to work with Zoom and my digital copy is on my computer. So to sum up the career readiness workshops and lab that we're going to pilot starting April 4th, I would say that it's an evening program that I developed with Kale Lowen and Grant Elliott from Iowa Works and David Cohen. I proposed the idea after, 3 or more years of students asking us for help with job search and preparation for job interviews. And as ESL teachers, we've been doing that ad hoc, but often time is very limited for night students. It's difficult to find or make appointments with people outside of class. So we decided to try to have something to serve that need a bit more intentionally and systematically. And Beth developed a flyer that I'll send out to everyone, but the program would actually be in the Kirkwood Annex. It's a building next to the Learning Center on campus on Tuesday nights every month, all month. And it would be a series of employment workshops. This is from the knowledge that students might want assistance with one part of the job search or preparation or exploration process, but not all of them, or might have limited time. So we're having a rotating series of workshops. The first being exploring careers. The second Tuesday night would be searching for jobs online. The third Tuesday night would be applying for jobs. And the fourth Tuesday night would be preparing for job interviews. And each of these separate workshops would also have a job interview practice component with some of the most common questions for job interviews. So it really is an employment workshop for English learners. Like, the focus is for English learners. The materials are scaffolded for English learners, and the instructors in the rotation are anticipating English learners, and we went over some approaches for using the materials with English learners. So we hope it's a really supportive way to help them make a job change or get a job. And that's one part of it. So I'll just briefly say the second part would be on those same Tuesday nights, on the other side of this divided classroom. It's a nice new divided classroom. Half of it's a language lab, the other half is an instructional environment. So we're going to have the workshop on the instructional side, and the language lab will be available for Burlington English. Maybe emphasize like the career pathways modules or some of those career specific ones. The computers will also be available for, just working on job applications with the assistance of a volunteer, or working on your resume or something. So we plan to have this staffed on a rotating basis with Kale, David, Grant Elliott from Iowa Works, Peggy Linden, and myself, and then also staffed with a volunteer on both sides. So we're going to try it out. We're going to promote to the English classes at night, because we do have about 100 people coming regularly throughout the week at night. And we hope this is something that helps them access workforce services that they might not otherwise be able to access, given limited hours at Iowa Works or given the limitations of the student schedule. A lot of them aren't available till about 7 o'clock at night, and given their language limitations as well. So that's the pilot. We started on April 4th, and we'll run it through May 23rd, and we'll have a meeting on the tail end of that to sort of look back and see if we want to keep running it or how we want to keep running it and make any adjustments. So I'm very grateful to that team for taking the planning time to put it together and actually adjusting their own individual work schedules to make it happen. I'm very excited for our students.
It sounds like a really great opportunity for students, Colleen. So I think that maybe in Cedar Rapids, we'd like to know how it pans out, so that we can think about doing some career workshops here too.
Yeah, and it sounds like actually, like maybe I think there is already something similar going on in Cedar Rapids at Iowa Works with Kat Griffith. I'm hosting some Burlington English. We're just kind of doing that, and then on the other side, a little bit more of a workshop. And Claire Brackelpacker, did I say her name right, Claire? Has actually done the instructional component down here already, funded by Iowa Works. They offered a job seeker ELL class where she was doing a lot of the same things. So it's really putting those two together, like a job seeker ESL class and a Burlington English sort of career readiness language lab on two sides of the same room, and hoping that meets everyone's varied needs. And, you know, I guess I would like everyone to know too that we were invited to use this brand new, like recently renovated space by the campus dean in Valentine, because they would like to make the space, the technology available to all of our Kirkwood learners. And yeah, she really reached out to us to make sure that space gets fully utilized.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, any questions for Colleen? And Kat says, I do some more one-on-one with the Burlington English.
Yeah. And I'm sorry, I really am done, but I do want to give Claire a shout too. She did advise on this curriculum as well, and she tried out a lot of things for us. So she was part of the planning team as well. Thanks, Claire.
Awesome. Okay. So, Virginia and Barb, you guys are up next. All right, Virginia, I unmuted you. Barb, are you on here? You can unmute yourself. And Virginia, we have some feedback on you.
For this point, we'll talk about setting up your testing account and registering for final. Okay, one will advance a bit of information for you. When you register for your final, you will need a paperwork, $10. Cheaper than water. Oh my God. Okay. I'm glad I can hear. It's $10. Okay. And you pay it directly to the testing company. So you'll have to have definitely go on credit card. I got both those. Okay. So okay.
All right, maybe we'll talk about the upcoming events and then we'll come back to Virginia. Or you can type in how Pathways is going in the chat and I'll just share it because your feedback is really loud.
We have old ears. I know they had one Wednesday night, a Pathways class. I know they're still working on trying to get this through, that it's a managed enrollment now and that they have to do Pathways and they can't do that until they do the next step. So I have had conversations with Barb and Virginia about that, but I think they're liking so far what they're seeing with it. If I can just put 2 cents in for them.
Yeah, if Virginia and Barb, if you want to just type in the chat window, I can relay that to everybody. And then our next thing is that we have events coming up. Our first one is Friday, April 28th from 8:30 to 12:30 at K-Life. And that is Laura Smith-Hill. And she will be talking about how to address adult English language learners. And you can, if you Google Laura Smith-Hill, you can find her blog, which is where I got the picture from. Again, to reiterate that graduation is Friday, May 12th at 7 p.m. at the hotel at the Kirkwood Center, and then our after party is right there as well. The Adult Education and Literacy 2017 Summer Conference, Building Your Future with Adult Education, is at the Ankeny FFA Center at DMAC. We're going to be packed in that building. It's not huge by any means.
No, and registration will be coming up on that.
And if you have a presentation you want to share at the state conference, it's up online. Also, professional growth, Frontline, formerly My Learning Plan, is where you would find any other information from the state. Has it changed the names already, Sean? So next,
I have one more to add to the events. There's a facilitator team-up meeting April 11th from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the Iowa City Regional Center. So if anyone's interested in going to that, Marcel sent out a invitation, you can just RSVP, please, if you're interested.
And Virginia and Barb. We're gonna try you one more time, maybe? Oh, no, I'm not getting anything in the chat from them yet. Oh, maybe they're not, maybe they are trying to restart, because I'm not seeing Virginia at all. Okay. So any questions, anything that we need to address, any concerns? Remember that you're all muted, but you can unmute yourself. Okay. Hearing none, our next Zoom meeting is Tuesday, April 25th at 1 p.m. And Marshall should be back, so you can go back to the regular Zoom link. Thank you all for listening and participating and sharing.
What's